And welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the main topics that we're going to cover in the upcoming Invest in Her Way masterclass starting here in about 10 days. And this is about fix and flips. But even if you're interested in only one of the strategies, I know a lot of you might be interested only in wholesaling or rentals or fix and flip, but you should know a little bit of the other strategies as well, because soon enough, let's say you're wholesaling, but soon enough, why don't you cherry pick properties where you can make more money, especially if they don't need that much work, right? So why if you make $10,000 on a wholesaling deal, you can make 60 or 70,000 just by doing a little bit of work on a fix and flip. And so I know your first question is, oh yeah, I would like that, but the money part, okay? So let me share a little bit about my story here and about the fix and flip scenario. So when I started getting into fix and flip, it was more kind of a default. I was more looking for rentals. Then I started flipping contracts, which is wholesaling. And I soon realized that some of these properties, I would have made much more money if I was willing to do some of the work. I didn't want to get into any major rehabs, mainly a lot of cosmetics, but I decided that, I was going to try to venture in the fix and flip. My thing is, I didn't have a lot of funds available. So I did a couple of things. One of them, number one, I started working with smaller local banks where they had foreclosures or an REO department, and they were willing to also, finance these properties because let's face it, some of them were not the best part of town, or they're also able to or willing to give money to fix them up. So, you kind of have to look at it. Yeah, maybe not the best part of town, but if they do give the money to fix them up, why not, right? So that was one of the things I started working with. And these banks are looking more at the potential more than you as a personal borrower. The other thing I started doing is what I call OPM with OPR, other people money with other people resources. So there was this property here that a hard money lender actually took back from somebody, and they were willing to have somebody else take over the loan, basically. Okay, so it was already in-house finance because the hard money lender owned it at this point, and they had their own money tied into it. So they were willing to do that, and most hard money lenders, by the way, will do that. Okay, so look at the hard money lender also as a source of getting properties. So they were willing to finance the property, but they were not going to give me the money to rehab it. So I got a contractor to take a look at it, and this is a small-time contractor, kind of doing things on the side, and he gave me a bid of labor around $10,000, and I said to him, "Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to give you 12,000 and give you some extra money, but can you hold off in getting paid for the bulk of it until when I close it or I sell it?" So that was going to be about 3-4 months. And so he wanted a little bit of money for pocket change. And also the other thing I did with this specific person, he needed a place to stay. So he stayed at the property while I was getting the work, which is fine, right? Somebody keeping an eye on it. But the thing is, there are people out there, especially smaller time contractors, that are willing to do that, especially if they make more money. Or maybe you can create a partnership interest, say, okay, I'll give you labor plus 10% of the profits, if you go ahead and delay for me to pay the rest of the labor. So you can make situations like that with a small-time contractor, not bigger companies that won't do that. Now you say, okay, that's fine, but what about the repair or the materials? So what I did is I went to Home Depot and I opened up a contractor's account, and they put everything on credit. So with that said, I would make the minimum payments until I got the house sold. So I did that one time, and in about 3 or 4 months, I turned around and got it sold, and it turned out really well. So I did it again. Okay, so that's how you use OPM with OPR. Other situations is you can get some of the seller to go and flat out finance. Another thing that's been talked about a lot recently because of some of the new laws coming up with wholesaling is installment agreements. Installment agreements the same as what we used to do 30 years ago, called contract for deed. Same thing, different name, right? But that's also a great way to you to get into the foot of a property. I like contract for these because it gives you more of an ownership interest into the property and makes the seller feel like, you're more serious about it than give them an option agreement or a lease option. Contract for deed, they're more like owner financing situations where you basically make an agreement that, you're making installment payments, and once you pay off the deed, then you get the deed to the property. Well, in the meantime, you can record a contract for deed which will cloud the title and also give an ownership interest to the point that you can also refinance. Okay. So that's a really cool way to get the steps. But anyway, when you start thinking about how we're going to do this without using bank financing, about being creative and thinking outside the box, it's that's what is get you going. One of the things I did when I started with real estate back in the 80s is, pretty much any book, late night infomercial or anything that had no money down, nothing down, creative financing, anything I could pick up with those in the title. I like to read those books to this day. I like to read those articles to see about thinking outside the box, right? So, but that's how I got into fix and flip. So eventually, obviously, it was easier because what I did then in 2001, I went into syndication where I had been doing a few on my own using, some of the strategies I just talked to you about. And then on top of that, I partnered with some of my buyers from wholesaling. At this point, I knew which one of my buyers had the deep pockets, like cash. And so we partnered. So they would put up the money 100%, and then I will get the property fixed them up. Originally, I started splitting 50-50 on the profits. As I got more confident and better, and I had more people that wanted to do this with me, I went down to about 20% of the profit. And eventually I just give them a 10% ROI, return on their investment. So if I give you 100,000, I get back 110. But those are pretty much what I did. So I started with the other things, got my experience, got my resume up there as a real estate investor. Know, hey, I've done this using this type of financing, and you want to do it with me and make the money instead of me giving the money to a hard money lender. That's the best way. But that's how I started. And when we get into the masterclass, we're going to talk a lot more also about how to analyze deals, how to figure out the maximum allowable offer. Also, as a wholesaler, you're going to have two types of end buyers. One of them are going to be landlords, and the other one is going to be rehabbers. So we will also share with you how to calculate things from a rehabber or a landlord point of view. Okay, so that what they're looking for, and also you make your profits. So we're going to go a lot more details. I also have a guest speaker. She has been working with me for 15 plus years, and but her specialty is fixing property. She does BRRRR method, which is the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, and also flat out fix and flips. So a lot of good stuff coming. This is just one of the days during the masterclass. Other days we're going to cover wholesaling. One day, another day we're going to cover rentals, including short-term Airbnb. Another day we're going to cover all the systems, contracts, financing, and so forth. So you definitely want to be part of the masterclass. It's the cost of a cup of coffee, guys. So it's super cheap. Skip Starbucks one morning. That will pay for the masterclass all week. Why do we do this? Because first of all, I really, really love sharing the information. I've been doing this for a long time, and at this point in my life, I really like to share what I know out there. And if it can make a difference or change in somebody's life, that to me is a reward for all the years that I had to go through ups and downs and trials in this business. So that's one of the things. And also, I'm looking to build a community or a tribe of women investors and women that want to pay it forward. So we're very much about women and empowering. And somebody was posting, one of the students was posting yesterday in the group, and she's like, how come when I go to these meetings, real estate meetings, most of the investors out there are men? Well, it's because it's still a male-dominated world, but we're going to change that, right? So with that said, I hope you're going to decide to join us in the masterclass. It's, like I said, very super affordable. Everybody here can afford it, I'm sure. It's only going to be in about 10 days. Next week, we're going to have a pre-masterclass phone Zoom call where we're going to actually tell you some things to get ready before the masterclass so that you can hit the ground running. We have had a lot of instances where people actually start doing deals by the end of the masterclass. So, it's going to be really powerful, very much step by step for you or what you need to do. So join us. The link is going to be here, is on the title and in the descriptions. Just take a moment to do that. And we're going to dive a lot deeper into fix and flips. See you then.